Hey, what's happening, everybody? My name is Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes. In today's tutorial, I want to talk about how I made my own kind of starting library. So if you're new to Gatsby, Gatsby has a ton of starters. They now have 381 now, and it's filtered in that direction. So they have a ton of Gatsby starters, and I have used none other than the Gatsby Starter Default over and over and over again. But over the course of the past year, I'm noticing a couple things I've been doing over and over again when I want to start a new project. And so I started to think about, you know what? I want to build my own starter library that I can use to create projects with that just save me a little bit of time. And in this video, I want to show you what I did to create my starting library, which you can find at Haydn5/starter Gatsby template with React Bootstrap. And with that, let's get started. All right, welcome back. Once again, my name is Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes. And on behalf of the Designer Who Codes world, I want to say thank you to everyone that subscribed, who has given all these videos thumbs up, and all of your comments. Together we can become better designers through code. And all your feedback has really increased my knowledge, and also looking forward to making better videos that increases your knowledge as well. Together we can all learn and grow as better designers through code. So one thing I'm passionate about is using these templates. So Gatsby has these fantastic templates in which to start your projects on. And one of my favorite templates that I go back to over and over and over again is the Gatsby Starter Default. Why do I like this template? Because it's essentially empty and it gives me a starting point. Now it's not totally empty, it's just kind of sort of empty. A good template should look like this. Untitled -1. It is a blank slate. That's also why when you run any kind of good code software, Sublime, Coda, not Dreamweaver, but like Visual Studio Code, it gives you an empty blank slate. It won't even turn the colors. You know, if I type a period, it's all just gray because the software doesn't even know this is just gobbledygook, but the software doesn't know what file this even is to color code the language. So this inherently is a good template. So what I really wanted to have happen was I wanted a stripped down version of the Gatsby default starter. Now also in my workflow, you've probably seen me advocate and use React Bootstrap. And I was noticing on every single project that I was installing React Bootstrap. And I said, well, if I could take this piece out, because a good template should one be stripped down, but also contain the resource that you need in which to work in a more efficient capacity. So for me, you can use Tailwind. There are a lot of other different starting default styles. I am just a Bootstrap fan, especially when it came to React Bootstrap. I was a major super fan. And so I said, well, I like the Gatsby default starter, but I don't like their default design. I want it to be stripped down completely. And I wanted React Bootstrap to be built in by default, so when I went ahead and built a new project, it would be a stripped down version of the Gatsby Starter Default, and it would have React Bootstrap. And as I took a look and did this more and more, the only thing that really separates this code is that the GitHub is through Gatsby.js, and I said, well, I've got my GitHub, so why don't I just build my own? And then I have my own. So I built mine and said, okay, it's under mine, which you're welcome to use. It's free for everybody if you want to give it a cool looking star. And it's just Haydn5/starter Gatsby template with React Bootstrap. So when I start a project, I just come over here and clone it, grab the copy, come over. I'm going to change it to my Gatsby demo projects folder. I think I'm on number 31. Is that what number I'm on? I'm way past these numbers. So I'm going to say 31. So I'll say Gatsby new 31 new starting template. And then I'm just going to paste in my GitHub repository versus Gatsby's and run this. And what it's going to do is it's going to install the Gatsby default with all my removal of their basic design elements, and it's also going to have React Bootstrap. So for me, this has been saving me at least 20, 30 minutes to just go out and strip the code out. Because a good template, these are beautiful starters, but they're not for me because my workflow doesn't look like this. And also, I have to take the time to understand and learn how these are built. When I was just learning, I thought this template was like the bee's knees. The Gatsby Starter Netlify CMS was fantastic, but I didn't know how it was built. And I spent 10 times as long learning how this template was built than building my own. And there's probably some upgrades I got to do. I'll do those next. And Yarn is out of date, which I will fix later on. So basically, these templates are fantastic, but one of them I looked at was just absolutely phenomenal, but it was built so complexly. Is that a word? Complexly? I probably need some more coffee, apparently. Complex. Just complex is the word as I'm thinking that piece. But it was built so complex that I had to spend so much time taking apart the template that I didn't know how to use it. And so for me, I wanted a template that I knew how to use blindfolded, and it was essentially an empty template. So if I run this, I'm going to go take a look. What do I call it again? Let's see. It is the 31. So CD 31 and Gatsby develop. Let's take a look and see what I did with this template, because the whole goal is I want it stripped down as best as possible while leaving the ooey gooey stuff that's built into that starter template, like the components, the header, the SEO. All those pieces were fantastic. And I said, well, I don't want to rebuild those because they're already built so well. I just don't need a purple top and an H1 looks like this and this design over here. I want it stripped down to the bare bones. So what this design looks like, if we go into a local host 8000, looks like this. Starter template with React Bootstrap. Notice how the type is from React Bootstrap. So if we take a look, and I'm going to go into 31 starting template, and if we go to source and we go into pages, this page, I come over here, looks like this. So I did keep the image for right now just because it was kind of hanging tight in this direction. But all the basic components that had some styling, I just took them out. I kept the SEO and I kept the components up here as they are because I'm going to use those eventually. I might not use the image, so I might change that down the road, but the layout's already built. The SEO is all ready to go. So those pieces are really important I wanted to keep. So for me, Gatsby built a great template. I just wanted it more templatey, if that's a word. We're making up words on this video. So if I go into my components and take a look at the layout, here is where also the changes happened. So in here, we now have the Bootstrap minified version, and I also put a custom CSS. Instead of having to build a new CSS file, which I'm going to have to do anyways in all projects, I just said, you know what if it just comes with a CSS folder? Because if we look at the starting default template, if we come over here, let me head over to, there's the source button. The one thing that's different from theirs versus mine, and once again, your workflow might not be the same as my workflow. This could change depending upon what you have going on. So under the source folder, they have components, images, and pages. And I just said, well, I like them all three, but I want a CSS folder. Now they put the CSS inside components, which you're welcome to do. My brain has always had a CSS and an images folder when I work on the web. So my workflow dictated that I like the word CSS of a folder. And I used to call it global. And now that I'm using more of the Bootstrap, that's my global CSS. And custom is where I can then change inside of here my custom CSS properties. And the custom CSS, wait for it, is empty. That's because I didn't want to put any custom CSS. I wanted Bootstrap to control the design, and then I can go into my index area and add my Bootstrap components as I need it. So for me, this was all about working more efficiently in my design and my code. And again, I didn't want to take anything out, so I kept it pretty much the way it was. For me, I liked the way the header was built. The div, the children, the footer I'm going to change later on. It still says Gatsby. Eventually I'll change that per whatever client or project I'm working on. So for me, Gatsby got me 90% there, but I had to spend another half an hour taking things out. So my starting default library, which looks completely different than these starting, where'd they go? I thought it was, let's see, that this one, we go back, there we go. So my template looks nothing like these polished designs because I wanted an empty template in which to work in. And so this is my version. I didn't really submit it to Gatsby because for me, this is how I work. You might work something differently, but it was also where I fully understood all the pieces that went into this project. So if you are looking for a template, you're welcome to use this. This is out for the public in my Haydn 5 directory on GitHub, which is the starter Gatsby template with React Bootstrap template. So my question for you is, did you or do you have a template that you go to for your workflow as you're using Gatsby for whatever the reason? Do you have a GitHub that I could see? If so, throw it down in the comments. I'd love to understand if you've done something like this, or do you have a particular starting library that you absolutely love in this list? Maybe there's one that I haven't seen before that is just like, man, this is my jam. Whoever built this is like my fan fave. So if you have a template that you are just like, you should check this one out, this is great, I'd love to know in the comments what you've done and if you have your own kind of template that you built that you have on GitHub. I'd love to showcase your work in the future. As always, I'm Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes, and thank you ADWC Nation, A Designer Who Codes Nation, for all of thumbs up. If you've loved this video, love for you to subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for your continued support. I really, really appreciate it. I'm passionate about teaching designers how to become better web designers by learning how to code. And my first 2 courses are up on my website at courses.adesignerwhocodes. These 2 are all about Gatsby. If you're brand new and you've watched these Gatsby websites, you're thinking, I want to learn how to use Gatsby. Well, this course is for you. How to set up, build, and deploy your first Gatsby website will take you from start to finish on building your first website. If you want to take it a step further, then how to build a blog in Gatsby.js goes through not just the beginner, but more the intermediate usages of Gatsby. So if you are looking to better your web skills, I encourage you to take a look at these courses, sign up, and become a better web designer by learning how to code in these first 2 courses about Gatsby.js. Once again, I'm Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes.